Hello, hello, hello. I've got something to tell you. Is it another day? Is it another video? I think it is, because I am back, and today I'm gonna talk to you about something very interesting. But first, before I do that, I actually watched a super interesting documentary about the glitter industry just moments ago before recording this, and I have to say it's super interesting. So if you guys ever wondered who the biggest buyer of glitter in the whole market of glitter markets, it's a mystery, no one knows, and that's really interesting. Regardless, that has nothing to do with what I'm here to talk about today, because I am gonna talk to you about how I made this very image right here. Because this image, wait, actually let me hold on, I need to adjust the camera a bit. Okay, this image right here, I made it yesterday and I shot it 3 days ago, I do believe. Or is it 4 days? Regardless, a few days ago I shot this image, and actually let me show you the source image, the start out image. Or no, wait, actually I'm not gonna show you the source image because you're gonna see it in the time lapse. And so initially what I wanted to do with this thing, I don't really know what you call it, was I wanted to do some kind of Sahara desert kind of thingy with sand mountains in the background and a desert feeling, but obviously, as you can see, it ended up into something completely else. I think that's a fair thing to say. And so you've seen the final result, and so I think it's time for you to see the how it came to be. And so that's exactly why I'm here to show you today. So we hit that play button and we are gonna watch it together. So as you can see, the source image right here is a quite cringe, awkward photo. I literally wrapped a blanket, or a blanket I have for my bed around my head, and at first I thought, maybe I can do toilet paper instead, but no, I went with a blanket, and I think that's a good thing. Although now that I say it, I think toilet paper would actually make for quite a cool effect. Yes, I'm definitely gonna try that sometime. But as you can see, before I get lost into my thoughts here, I'm basically just cutting out the shape of myself, and also I'm continuing to inside that cutout, cutting out my face, because as you could see in the final result, I removed my face completely. Initially, I was gonna leave a hole right through the head, right through the hole right there, and so you could see the background of the desert background with the sand mountains and such, which I'm looking up right here on Unsplash. And also, can we just talk about how great Unsplash is? Like, amazing source photos, completely free for anyone to use. Hello? Why is no one talking about that? Well, regardless, I'm putting it in the background here, and also what I'm doing right here is I'm morphing the perspective, so it gets kind of the effect of a wide-angle lens, since the camera on my phone is a little bit wide-angle. I mean, it's a normal iPhone, but iPhone XR to be precise, but to match the effect. And also, like I do in any photo edit, I always try to match the colors as much as possible, and that's exactly what I'm doing here, adjusting the lighting, the contrast, the black point. Usually what I find a lot of people tend to forget is to adjust the black point, since at least when you grab a source photo, the black point tends to be very different, obviously, since it's two different photos. And so yeah, you have to have the same amount of blackness in your photos, and so the black point does a great job at that. And what I'm doing here is I realized it looks very wonky with having a hole right through the head. It doesn't really make sense, and it doesn't make for a good image. So I decided to, instead of having a hole, I just decided to pretend like the blanket is a hole, like it's hollow. And so I grabbed the original blanket and I duplicated it, put it behind the initial layer, and decreased the brightness and the exposure level. And that way I kind of achieved a feeling of that it's that you can see into it, that it's the backside of the blanket that you're seeing. And fortunately, the blanket I used has the same exact pattern all over, which is really easy to work with since there's really nothing to change. And also what you can see me doing right here is I am removing tiny spots I apparently left out from masking out the face of me. So I'm just making sure that there's no like blemishes or marks or like weird spots going on that I don't want there. And I'm doing right here, I'm putting a new exposure layer inside the blanket head. I'm gonna call it the blanket head from now on. Because what I wanted to try to achieve, you will see me work with it quite a lot, is I wanted to have like a neon light effect going on inside. I wanted it to be as if there's like a lamp or some kind of creepy neon effect going on inside of it. That's what I wanted to do, but as you will see throughout this video, I didn't really achieve that feeling, and so that's why I went in a completely different direction. So I'm grabbing just the random colors and trying to figure out what looks the best. And with that said, I'm gonna take off my sweater here. I'm very warm. I get warm when I film these videos. Oi. New and ready. So I'm playing around with the colors, like I said, and I'm also changing the layer effect. I think I went for a overlay effect on this one. I'm gonna throw my coat away. Whoosh! And yeah, so I'm playing around with that, trying to find a way that makes it look good, in short. That makes me personally satisfied. And that's what I'm playing around with and trying to see what effects I can achieve. And as I'm moving on here from the face, I'm starting to play around with the background, because obviously I completely went away from the Sahara effect, the Sahara feeling, and instead went for a kind of darker tone, like a kind of creepy but cool tone. And that's what I'm trying to do here. I knew I wanted to have a very dark background, but also, at least at this point in my editing process, I still had the idea of having a neon effect inside of it. But as I continued playing around with that, I just didn't quite feel like it was looking the way I wanted it to look. And that's exactly what I'm doing. Because you will see me very soon here grab an image of, yes, exactly, an image of a, I was gonna say candle? What do you call those? A lighter, is that the name? One of these? A lighter? Yes, I am a funny man, I know. So what I'm doing here is I'm trying to put one of these candle fire effect inside. But as I was doing that, can we just talk about how this looks so much like a cartoon character, since the face is black and there's like two narrow but long oval. That's the word, oval eyes. Looks like a cartoon character. Anyway, that's a side note. So yes, I'm continuing to play around with the lighting of that, and so I wanted to let the fire go outside of the blanket head, as I like to call it. And but even though I continued trying to play around with it and try to get a nice look for it, it just doesn't feel right. It doesn't feel the way that I want it to feel. It looks fake, it looks out of place, it doesn't look like it belongs there, and not in a good way, because there's obviously a lot of things that doesn't belong in the photos that I make, but in the end it still looks good, or at least in my humble opinion. But in this way it looks off. It doesn't feel right to have a candle inside of the head. But that's one of the fun parts about doing these edits, because you never know where you're gonna end up, and I think I'm pretty sure I've mentioned that in a lot of my videos, but the process is so much fun to watch. Like, I'm having so much fun watching this video together with you right now, because I don't even realize it myself sometimes, the amount of steps I go through to find that final idea. And at the end of the day, that's really what's important, because you have to experiment. You may have this really great idea in your head, and for various reasons you may end up with something completely else, and that doesn't mean that it's bad or good. It just means that whatever you made evolved into something new. And this right here, what I'm doing is I am just changing up the pattern. I wanted it to look a bit surreal. I didn't want it to be the same exact pattern as of the main overall blanket. But I got a new idea. Speaking of the process, I got a new idea of having a hand reach out from the from the inside of the head. And since I didn't plan it from the initial beginning, I didn't actually take a source photo for that. So I grabbed one from Unsplash, once again, a great website, love it. I published some of my images there too myself. But as I played around with this hand, again, it didn't feel right. It didn't feel the way I wanted it to feel. Whether it be my ability to blend it in a good way, or the source photo just didn't fit in the image that I was making, or just my overall feeling at that moment, I don't know. But at the end of the day, it didn't feel right, and I'm trying to mask it or blend it with different colors. But as you can see, I just removed it because it didn't look the way I wanted it to look. And so once again, my next step here in the process is I thought, let's just leave the face in and do something weird with it, like make it a fun color or whatever. Let's make it feel odd, I guess is a good word. But even that didn't feel right, so I scrapped that idea again, and I accidentally actually made it black and white. But as I accidentally did that, I realized, that looks kinda good, I like this feeling. And so by complete accident, I continued on that path of having it black and white, and also darkening the inside of the head way more. And so you could see it. You could still see the inside of the head, but not quite as much as in the beginning. And so that's what I'm doing here. I'm trying to give it some kind of foggy feeling, and that's a burp. I ate some cinnamon buns. Did you know? It was the cinnamon buns day here in Sweden yesterday, so I have a lot of cinnamon buns to eat. But you can see me here doing a lot of curve changes, and that's really. I usually do that at the end of the editing process because, while it does make in my opinion, the biggest difference in terms of overall feeling of the final result, it is something that I like to leave to the end since it changes so much and I want the fine details to be done before that. And so that's exactly what I'm doing here. And also split toning, I mentioned it before. Split toning is such an important or at least powerful tool to help you make your images stand out from the crowd, because that's such a great way to make your images yours and not someone else. Make you stand out from the crowd and find your specific style of images. And right, this final step is I like to add a gradient to it and obviously mask it so it doesn't become all white or all black. And that's exactly what I'm doing here, and I'm playing around with it. Still doesn't know exactly what kind of feeling I wanted to do, but this result right here, I really liked having the background become all black, so you couldn't see what was in the back at all, like not even in the slightest. But still, I continue experimenting, I continue changing colors, see if I still want it completely black and white, or if I want it to be some colors in it. And I continue playing around with the layer effects, and I add another exposure layer here, and I did let me just pause that actually. I did a fog brush, and I painted that onto the masking layer of the exposure layer. And so what I wanted to, you know how light reflects off of water, it gives like a random pattern of light, you know those when you're in a swimming house or a pool house, and you can see the light shimmering all over. That's the effect I wanted, because I wanted the lighting to be random and not feel like it's a brush that has been painting. Anyway, I'm gonna continue that. And that's the really final touches, because I wanted to brighten up that face, and so you would know what to focus on. And that's exactly the final result that we were given. And so I'm gonna switch back to this the final result right here. And so what you can see is, like I mentioned, the face is a little bit brighter than what it was initially. And with that said, this is the end of this time lapse. It was a very fun edit. I didn't expect it to go in the direction that I took it in, but it was a very fun and experimental image that I did today, or yesterday actually, but we watched it today. And that's all I have to say. I'm not gonna drag it out any longer than I need to. And so with that said, I just have to say thank you for watching, and as always, thumbs up for good luck, and follow me on Twitter and Instagram at forsjonathan, and I'll see you next week with another video and another image and another time lapse. Until then, stay awesome. Thumbs up.